So Erev Tov on both sides. So what a big simcha. So close to like Bomer. On a regular year, 500,000 people or so go to Meron, which is a staggering figure. If you think how many Jews are there in Eretz Yisrael? 8 million? Something like that. So it's 1 in 16, 5%, 6% of a population doing anything is incredible. But what we want to talk about briefly tonight is what's everybody so happy about? And more importantly, what are we so happy about? If we were, and I speak about myself, and I imagine most of us are, if we were like deep Kabbalah learners in a serious way, so Mela, Kabbalah, Zohar is Rebbe Shimon Sefer, and then we be involved in his amazing Torah. But Lamaisa, so many of us are very far away from that, and many perhaps, our whole lives with nothing more than the most shallow of understandings. I heard Rabbi Weiss personally say that most Gedolei Yisrael weren't involved in Kabbalah too much. That's what Rabbi Weiss say. So it's not, and let's say we jump and learn Kabbalah when we're not even ready, so in a certain way we might end up further away. We won't even know we don't know sometimes. So what's the simcha? By the way, the Chavetz Chaim used to advise people to learn the understandable parts of the Zohar. Even Bachram is brought down from the Chavetz Chaim. So at the end of the Bar Yochai song, we say, Bar Yochai, Ashrei Yiladetecha, lucky is she that gave birth to you. Va'ashrei ha'am heim lomdecha, lucky is the nation heim lomdecha. Va'ashrei ha'omdim al sodecha, and ashrei are those who own them, those who stand on your sod. So let's look carefully at these two expressions for a second. Ashrei ha'omdim al sodecha, I get it. It's also a nice, clean sentence. Ashrei ha'omdim, noun, verb, noun. Ashrei ha'omdim al sodecha, those that understand, those that are omdim, those that have havana, those that have tfisa, those that get what you're talking about. Ashrei omdim al sodecha. Well, why do we need another expression? Ashrei ha'am heim lomdecha. Who's that talking about? And also the wording is strange. Ashrei ha'am heim lomdecha. There's no verb there. This is important for the whole shir. Ashrei ha'am, lucky is the nation, heim lomdecha, they learn you. It's not a normal sentence. Yes, sir, what's that? The sentence could have been Ashrei Ham Halom Chashuv people. I forgot. Big people.
I don't know
Ashrei Ham Halom Dim Torasecha. That would have been a way to say it. Also, sometimes we find
they're your learners, or they are you.
Right.
It's missing a word.
It's missing a word. So what are the two levels? What are the two levels? And grammatically, it's a strange word. Also, Ham sometimes means like lower level. Lech Reiki Shichis Amcha. Amcha, in modern jargon, say like Amcha, not a pejorative term. Finally, at the end of the other song, right, the other famous song, we say, Tarasa Magin Lanu. That's understood. His Torah, Magin Lanu protects us. Himi Iris Einenu, it lights up our eyes. Himi Iris Einenu, Iris Einenu, Yamlet Stov Badenu. Yamlet Stov Badenu, that we get. We don't need help. Tarasa Magin Lanu, again. Here Meir Einenu, at the same point. Again, all Klal Yisrael sing the song, it's Meir Einenu, lights up my eyes. Usually that expression is B'derech Klal used if someone teaches something. Ari was Meir Einenu on Friday night with this drasha, but
it lights up my eyes, or it's the light of my eyes?
No, it lights up my eyes. Here Meir Einenu, it lights my eyes. So the way that expression is usually used is when someone had a question, and you're Meir Einenu, and that's okay. Finally, Reb Shimon, his whole way was so different than ours. Reb Moshe Tov Yeshavta, Yom Nasta, Yom Asher Amarata, Barachta, the Ma'ar Surim Shemarata, and the Ma'ar you were, Sham Kanisa Hod Chahadarecha. Reb Shimon Dafka was Kona, his Hod Bahadar, his grandeur, his greatness, in the Ma'ara. It's hard for us to relate if we would think about our life in one way, it's not very Ma'aratic. It's nothing to do with the cave. So we're referring here to a caveman in a certain way. What's our shaykhs? Today, 2026, where nothing in my life resembles a cave. So first, a little Jewish history, as I understand. I'm not a historian, but I dabble and I try to figure things out a little bit. And I've read some very, very interesting things, so I'm going to share with the tzibur. There are two schools in our history that dealt with deep questions of godliness and far-reaching questions like the purpose of man and mitzvahs. The big questions, existential questions, you would say. One is rationalistic Jewish philosophy, definitely a base measure for sure, meaning more within the boundaries of things graspable, what one sees and understands. The The biggest of that would be Rabbeinu Rambam, or Nevuchim, or Sag, Sadigon, others from Where Hashem. There's whole schools of thought of rationalistic Yiddishkeit. And then there was non-rationalistic, in that way, right, has its own rationale, its own laws, Kabbalistic thought, based on things received from Har Sinai, and divinely revealed ideas, right? Everybody understands that Arizal was Giluyim. It wasn't, Arizal didn't do Cheshbonis like we learn in the Gemara. Things were being revealed to him all the time. Shem Tov, there were many things revealed to, etc. Now, these were two separate strands, but not only that, they were at odds with each other, to a large extent. Is this the way to deal with the question, or is this the way to deal with the question? What should we be teaching people? With what should our best and brightest be involved in? What should we learn first? Like any two schools. Of course, there are always exceptionally great people that could learn everything and bring it together. Meir Simcha, anybody who's in Meshech Chochmah sees, he knew Kabbalah, and he knew Rambam, he knew more Nevuchim, he knew everything. I mean, he knew everything, he brought it all into the amazing saber called Meshech Chochmah. Rav Kook is another example, and obviously many others. But this is important for us to have. Even very, very many great people can't be tofes two totally different mahalchim, two different ways of, they can say the word, but they can't really be tofes. Leis seichel is sobel, such a thing, to really understand two totally different mahalchim. Or they're not interested in that. I'll give you a mashal in modern times. It's known that in the 40s and 50s, very few Talmidei Chachamim, those who Talmidei Chachamim in that time in the Yishuv could be Talmidim both of the Brisker Rav and the Chazon Ish. It's two different ways, that's just in Gemara. But it's two totally different ways, Briskers and Chazon Ish. It's a different tefisa and how to answer questions, how to deal with things. There are a few, Laser Pomeranchik, but it was known. It was kind of like you're either Talmid of the Brisker Rav or Talmid of the Chazon Ish. When Rosh Shapira's father came to learn in Telz, I don't want to say the whole story, it's a little too chazak. Afterwards, once the tape is off, maybe I'll say it if I'm last year. But Rosh Shapira's father came to learn in Telz came to learn Slobodka after being in Telz. And the Alta Slobodka gave him a very, very sharp sign. If you want to be in Slobodka, you have to forget about Telz. This is not Telz anymore. Telz is Telz, and Slobodka is Slobodka, and neither the two shall meet. Now you're talking about two places in Lithuania that were how far away from each other. By the way, there are those that say the Rambam himself is a lot more Kabbalistic than often thought about. It's a big machlokes in the Rambam himself. Some people say, of course, the Rambam was absolutely not Kabbalistic, and others say he absolutely was Kabbalistic. It's a very, very sensitive topic. Those who are in have days, you can't even talk to them about this topic. But I'll tell you one conversation. My brother-in-law was extremely close to Moshe Shapiro. So Moshe said to him one time, Eli, you think the Rambam learned Lishma? What was the Olam say? The Rambam learned Lishma?
I don't know.
Not the whole time.
I haven't said the whole time.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually. So the Rambam learned, the Rambam of course learned Lishma the whole time. So it says in the Mishnah in Avos that Aloni Torah Lishma, Megala Razi Torah. He gets Razi Torah. He gets the secrets of the Torah. So of course the Rambam. Okay, but I'm not getting into that. So Lamaisa, we said that there was this tension all the time between which way to go, right? It exists a little bit today, but then it was very, very chazak. An example of this historic tension was in Italy. Italy eventually became, when we think Italy, what does everybody think? Rationalism or Kabbalah?
Ramchal.
Ramchal, oh. So Lamaisa, it was the eventual home of great Kabbalists like the Rebbe Shimon, Rabbi Shai Bassan, and Ramat Vali, Moshe David Vali, and Rabbeinu Ramchal. But before that, it had been a hotbed of Jewish philosophy. That's what they learned. That's what the Kinderlach learned. And that's how they saw things. When they weren't learning Gemara, they were learning philosophy. Until the students of Ari came, what we called Guri Ari, the Lion Cubs, and then the Ramami Pano, Ari Pano came. Pano was an Italian name, and he and that Kufa was a real split, but it switched around. Mamish, like the place switched from being a rationalistic place to eventually being the birthplace of the Ramchal. And what happened in Italy very dramatically was going on around the Jewish world. So, good, a little bit of history, as I see it. I think that's true. So, where are we today? I want to share an anecdote. A friend of mine who's very, very well versed in Kabbalah told me about another friend who's very well versed in Kabbalah that he listened to a drasha somewhere. And someone quoted a Tiferet Shlomo, like a Radomsker. You have it on the shelf. And he said, you hear that Radomsker? He said, you think that was a Radomsker? That was an Arizal. I was told it was pure Arizal. That the Ari wrote it in Arik in Lurianic Lashonis, and the Radomsker put it into Yosef and Yehuda, or whatever the pshat was, and put it into terminology that we understood. And this is true about great amounts of Hasidic thought, but it's not just Hasidic thought. Of course, there's only Gaon, and so many of his Talmidim were great Kabbalists. The Bali Musa were great Kabbalists, and the Svarim that we learn today, like Nefesh Chaim, like Ruach Chaim, like Derech Hashem, like Das Tmunis, all the Svarim of Ritzai Zikaber, or a clear attempt to get across central Kabbalistic concepts in revealed language. That's really what the Ramchal was doing. And then we know that Malam B'Kodesh, Ramchal wrote Mamish Kabbalah Svarim. Another thing I heard recently, the Rosh Shapiro said that, Baruch Hashem, that the Ramchal was, that they ran after him, and ran him out of Italy into Amsterdam. So, well, why? I just heard this like 4 weeks ago. My friend Deborah Rubin told me. He said, because otherwise we'd have another Klach Chachma, another Adir B'Morim, another thing. But because he was in Amsterdam, they asked him from writing Kabbalah, so he wrote the Mesil Yashar for all Klai Yisrael. That was it. So now, of course, the Maral is Pokula Kabbalah, but in languages that we relate to. Chassidus, the Gra, Ramchal, Ramaral. Now, what a book like, what?
Hasidus, the Gra.
It being Kabbalistically based.
It was you put the two opposite sides of the
yeah, no, exactly. But in this, exactly, in this, they were together. That's the point.
Why is Rashi never thrown into the Kabbalah?
Rashi, I don't know. I know where Rashi was in the, I don't know.
Every word is...
Yeah. But now, what about a book like Mesil Yisharim? Mesil Yisharim, that Lachar is Muslim, right? So it's Yedua, I heard from Rebbe myself, and it's written that Rabbi Yerucham said that all the sodas of the Ramchal in Kabbalah, he put into Mesil Yisharim. So we're starting to get a picture, friends? Now let's take it ahead. That was 4 generations ago. Let's take it ahead to our times. Thinkers like Rav Hutner and his Talmidim, Rav Dessler, Rav Moshe Shapiro. Those central thinkers that affect so much of the mindset today, even the Kiev mindset today. Rav Kiva Tatz, Rav Gershfeld, Talmidim Rav Moshe that are all over the world, right? The amazing popularity of Hasidic thought. Even how many Litvaks are there that everybody's learning Rav Tzaddik, Sasem, Shem Shmuel's, Tanya's today. It's very interesting. Rav David Cohen, the Rashiv of Hebron, historically, his first Sefer on Purim, had no Hasidus in it at all. It was pure Gra. And now you see his later Svarim, he brings a lot of Shem Shmuel, the Sfasem. I think I never spoke to him. He's alive and well, 20 minutes away from here, but you see the change in him himself. But that just means Hasidus. So let's take a step back. So as I see it, this is one man's evaluation, but I think it's an important evaluation. If I'm right, everybody could think themselves. The Jewish people as a whole certainly has paskin supremacy of Kabbalah. Klai Yisrael paskin the Shaila. The supremacy of Kabbalah. Think about all the major traditions, Hasidus, as Rabbi was saying. The Lithuanian tradition. Again, in Lita it wasn't out as much, and there were those that did it, etc. But the Gra was Lita. There's nobody else who was the father. It's very interesting when I think about it outside the Svarim. When you think back, what is Klai Yisrael today? 2 people, Rabbeinu Baal Shem Tov and Rabbeinu Gra. It really goes back to that. So those 2 Bati Midrashos are called Kulo Muvusas in Kabbalah. The Sephardi world, to the greatest extent, Benishai, etc., is also called Kula Kabbalah. There was a Teiman. In Teiman, there were those that were not Kabbalistic. There was a Dardikim, I think, something, but Derech Law. Elahu, not from our major traditions today. Germans, Rebbe Shimon Hirsch. So first off, I don't know too much of Rebbe Shimon Hirsch, but I've read that even Hirsch's scholars, the machlokes amongst them, how much Rebbe Hirsch was into Kabbalah. But even if you say Rebbe Hirsch himself had nothing to do with Kabbalah, what was Germany before Rebbe Hirsch? So Germany was a hotbed of Kabbalah, and that's Kabbalah Matzah. So where do we know this from? In the terrible machlokes between Rav Yonason Eibeshitz and Yaakov Emden, whether Rav Yonason Eibeshitz was a Sabbatian Chalila, right? So what was Rav Yonason Eibeshitz wrote Kemiyas for Yoldot, for women giving birth, to give them a shmirah. And there were things which sounded, if you do it a certain way, a certain habash or something, it looked like a reference to Sabbatin and stuff.
What is
Shabbat Tzvi. Shabbat Tzvi. Chalila. So there was this Yaakov Emden and other Gedolei Yisrael were absolutely convinced this man was a Sabbatean. Shabtai Tzvi, we know what I'm talking about. Barminan, right? Incredible. L'maisa, who paskin these? Who paskin the communities? So Ruben Leichter told me there was Kabbalists in the Oath in the Black Forest in Germany. Now to know whether something is Sabbatean or not, and whether it's reference to Shemus Hashem, you had to be involved in not the Kabbalah that's learned today, Kabbalah Masas. This is how to make a goal and things like that. So this is Germany. So L'maisa, where are we holding? The whole Lithuanian tradition was that. The whole Hasidic world was that. 89% of the Sephardi world was that. The Germans were all Kabbalah. So it seems to my small head, the Klai Yisrael paskin this question. That doesn't mean there's not room for someone who wants to learn more Nevuchim. Doesn't mean there's not room. But in terms of like who's the Mishpat of Bechorah of Klai Yisrael today? Where is our thinking today? What are we about mostly? It's about this. Who doesn't enjoy the Hasidic Torah, Maral, the Gra? And like we said, even the Misil Sharm. So, where does that leave us, Rabbi Schoonmaker? We're all Talmidei the Rebbe Shimon. That's it. We're all Talmidei the Rebbe Shimon. His thought is what won today, and that's what we are learning. Whether we know it or not, that's the Torah that we're learning. Yeah. The Lomi Boy today, the concept of Chesed Gvura Tiferes, there's so much out there, and everybody knows the idea what Yisod is. Well, it wasn't like that in the mirror 50 years ago. You see the concepts are out there. So, even if we don't learn Kabbalah Mamish, he is our Rebbe. His way is living with us. His way is living in us. His Torah is reverberating through the whole Jewish world, even though we don't realize. So therefore, truthfully, Hima Yeruseinu, our eyes, what life is about, is for Rebbe Shimon. So the Chassidus all the ideas of Mesilas Sharm, all these ideas of it's us. That's Hima Yeruseinu. So Rebbe Shimon is Yeruseinu. Now we understand the other question we asked. We said, what are these two expressions? Ashrei omdim al sodecha, ve'ashrei ha'am him lumdecha. We said that grammatically is a strange sentence. So Ashrei omdim al sodecha, for sure. People are really zocha to be om b'sod Hashem, to learn Kabbalah, k'moshe tzarich. Ashrei omdim al sodecha. They're omed, they understand sodecha. But not just that. Ashrei ha'am, the lower level people. Heim lumdecha, they're also learning. That's, we said, why do you need two expressions? Ashrei omdim al sodecha. But it's Ashrei omdim al sodecha. That's the real Kabbalah learnings of Yaakov Hillel, V'chulei, and all that chebra. Yeah, for sure. But it's also Ashrei ha'am heim lomdecha. And we asked, where was the verb? I think maybe that's the pshat. Ashrei ha'am heim lomdecha. They don't even realize they're learning. It's not a straight process of Ashrei ha'am halom paraso. It's Ashrei ha'am. You wake up. We're all Talmidei the Rebbe Shimon. Ashrei ha'am heim lomdecha. Even the am is we're lomdecha. Now we understand. Now we understand why Lag BaOmer we're happy. Why such a hisaris of Klai Yisrael? Everybody's happy. Mamish, everybody's happy, and I Rebbe Shimon Kulam. Everybody has shaykhs to it. Everybody's lighting bonfires. Everybody's samech b'simchaso. Why? Because he's our Rebbe. He gave us all a derech halima, the way to approach things. He told us what life is all about. Even if you don't want Kabbalah, Lag BaOmer is your thing. Not just because of this, because the hashkapas that fill our heads today are his hashkapas.
Maisa, it's only in Eretz Yisrael.
It's more.
Yeah, it's very weak in America.
Very weak.
Wow.
America's behind. America's behind.
Lag BaOmer in America?
America's behind. They're getting there. But no, it could be like Homer. But the ideas are all over. Lakewood is full of machshava today.
Yeah.
Lakewood is full of machshava. When I see Sfarm coming out.
No, this is not
About Lag BaOmer.
what you're saying. I'm saying they're not even.
Yeah. So that's why we're at.
They're stuck in the Litvish thought.
So now we're both said, what about the Mar? We said, what's our shaykhs to Rebbe Shimon? Sham kanisa hod ba'adarecha. You were calling your hod and your hod is there. Okay, but it means another worldly figure. So I think in a certain way this is the most important lesson for us. We're soon going to be landing by Midbar, and in fact we always land by Midbar before Shavuos. To Makabel Torah, a person has to go into Midbar, a desert. Before Eretz Yisrael, we all needed a Midbar experience. 40 years in the Midbar. To properly descend into the goal of being in Eretz Yisrael, we need those 40 years. Meshech Chochmah says that Midbar wasn't real life. Sheker Chein Behevel Yofi Zedor Shel Moshe is a sheker, is bechin of sheker. It's incredible. Sheker Chein Behevel Yofi Zedor Shel Moshe. Sheker Chein Zedor Shel Moshe. Hevel Yofi Zedor Shel Yeshua. There's a bechin of sheker. It's not real life. It's not real life. It's not what it's about. Yeah. Eretz Yisrael is what it's, but you have to be in the Midbar. You had to be in a midbar to get to Eretz Yisrael. You needed that sheker. Yeshiva is in real life, but without the yeshiva experience, we know how lost we would all be. That's Klal Yisrael, and that's us. And the same thing for Noach. Noach, to recreate a world, he had to be in a teva. Without Noach being in a teva, the world would have been, he had to be misnatek from everything in a different world. The goal is to get out of a teva, but only after being in the teva. And for Shimon to revolutionize Klal Yisrael, he had to be away. Sham Dafka, Kanisah Chavadaref, in a place away. So now, how does it relate to us again? So I think like this, to bring it home. We all need our own ma'aras today. What does it mean to have a ma'ara today? What does that mean? When we're out this in the world of constant flashing images, constant busyness, confusion, where not important things and superficial things dominate, in this crazy world we have to preserve our humanity by running into little caves. What's a cave? A cave called an hour Seder at night, where nothing can bother me. That Seder's a cave, that's a ma'ara. I'm totally focused. For an hour I don't have my phone. That's a ma'ara. A cave, a ma'ara called an intense minhag there where I come on time, put everything into it. A cave called shalom bayis, where we respect each other and the home has walls and negative outside. Nobody don't seep in. If Reb Shimon needed a cave, so we all need our caves today. We have to, each person in his own life, speak for myself, has to find a cave. Ruchnis has to, there's so much pull today. I just saw what they say, a Bacher today sees in one day what they didn't see in Europe in a whole lifetime. So you need a cave. The cave where you find, that's something we could all work on Lag Bomer, to try to find a cave. Where's my cave? Where's my ma'ara? Where I can find my hod, my hodder, my beauty, my grandeur, my uniqueness. In a certain way, Reb Shimon was lucky. Kadosh Baruch Hu created an actual cave for him that he had to be in. For us, it's a lot harder, but we can do it. We're elite, we're holy. We're so holy, we're so pure, so intelligent. Klal Yisrael can't be stopped. But it's a challenge to find the ma'ara. Each person to find the ma'ara in himself, a place, a way to that the ruchnius can, our ruchnius can develop and thrive away from whatever is blocking it. In closing, we can all be very happy in these days because we are the Am that learns his Torah, and we can be especially happy. You can learn from his ways and realize, like him, we need our own caves. Freilich. A good day to everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.